Hi, I'm Megan with the Elyria Public Library, and thanks for joining me for horror movies you didn't know were based on books that aren't Stephen King. Our first title is The Haunting of Hill House by Shirley Jackson. Frequently listed among the best horror novels of the 20th century, The Haunting of Hill House follows a group of people who have been selected to participate in an experiment to prove the existence of the supernatural by spending the summer in the theoretically haunted Hill House, an imposing mansion with a troubled past. Members of the group become promptly plagued by unexpected events, although questions arise as to whether the hauntings are real ghosts or the actions of a member of the group. Multiple adaptations of The Haunting of Hill House have been made since its publication in 1957, with movies being made in 1963 and 1999, both under the title The Haunting, followed by a very loosely adapted miniseries that aired on Netflix in 2018. Psycho by Robert Bloch. Published in 1959, the story of Norman Bates, a seemingly ordinary motel owner who was in reality a disturbed murderer. It was quickly followed by a theatrical version released in 1960. Directed by Alfred Hitchcock, it was considered extremely controversial but also earned 4 Oscar nominations. Robert Bloch wrote 2 sequels, Psycho 2 and Psycho House, and there have been several cinematic sequels and remakes made since, the latest being a prequel television series in 2013. Jaws by Peter Benchley may not be considered classic horror, but it did inspire millions of people to stay out of the water. Published in 1974 to mixed reviews, Jaws spent over 40 weeks on the bestseller list. The Steven Spielberg-directed adaptation was released a year later to become a massive blockbuster. Although the movie eliminates a number of side plots from the book, the basic story remains the same. Police Chief Martin Brody, aided by professional shark hunter Quint and ichthyologist Hooper, attempt to hunt down a massive shark that is devouring beachgoers in the small coastal town of Amity. The movie would be followed by several sequels and was even the inspiration for a ride at Universal Studios in Orlando. Let the Right One In by John Linkfist tells the story of Oscar, a bullied and neglected boy who becomes enthralled by a mysterious new neighbor, a child named Ellie, who is soon revealed to be a child vampire. Set in Stockholm in the 1980s, the tale is extremely dark, with Linkfist going out of his way to remind us that blood-drinking vampires are no match for the monstrousness of humanity at its worst. The book has been adapted twice, first in its native Sweden in 2008, and again in 2010 as an American version under the title Let Me In. Our last title is Coraline, written by Neil Gaiman. This children's horror book follows the adventures of Coraline Jones, who moves into a new home and is promptly warned by her neighbors against opening a strange door that seems to lead to nowhere. Coraline, ignoring the advice, finds herself in an alternate version of her home, complete with alternate versions of her parents. At first, Coraline is delighted by this magical world, but as time passes, she begins to realize her other mother is actually a monster luring Coraline into a dangerous trap. Originally, Gaiman's agent believed the book was too scary for children, but changed her mind after Gaiman suggested she read the book to her own kids, who insisted they hear the whole story and that it wasn't too frightening. At the movie's 2009 premiere, Gaiman mentioned the story to one of the children who was attending with her mother, who confessed she had been completely terrified, but just had to know what happened. The Coraline adaptation was done in stop motion, lending an extra dimension of horror to the other mother's monstrous final form. This is just a small sample of the hair-raising offerings the library has for the Halloween season, including creepy collections available on Hoopla and Libby. And don't forget to check out our YouTube channel for more Halloween fun for all ages.